Hello, friends, and welcome to the U-Turn podcast. This is your host, Ashley Stahl. I'm a career expert, a speaker, a best-selling author of the book U-Turn. Get unstuck, discover your direction, design your dream career. And I created the U-Turn book and the podcast as a place to help you connect to who you truly are at your core. And that's why every single week, I want to bring a guest on with the intention of helping you expand what's possible for you, both in your confidence, whether it's in work or love, and just in life in general. So let's get into this week's episode. Hello, U-Turn friends. It's Ashley Stahl here, and I know it's been such a minute since I've done a solo episode with you, and I felt so due to connect and just share some thoughts that have been on my mind in the new year. And the first thing I want to say for anybody who is listening and feeling like, maybe they don't feel like they have some purpose in their life with their work right now, or maybe you feel like you don't have any answers. Maybe it's in your relationship or in your career or just in your vision. You don't really know what you want to do next, or you're not feeling clear about something. I just want to remind you that life really does happen in seasons, and at least that's my opinion. So you can question anything I say. I think it's important to have your own thoughts on things, but what I've been realizing over the years is that we just have seasons, So for me, between working in counterterrorism and launching this business and writing my book from, really 2010 to 2021, I worked and I had my head down. And there were some years in that era where I was working crazy hours that weren't healthy for me. There were other years where I was working healthy hours, but I had a lot of work on my plate. And I'm in an era right now where I've just been chilling. And I know it's a privilege to be able to say that and just kind of being. So I just want to remind those of you who are feeling like you're just kind of bopping along. Maybe you're not sure what's next. Life doesn't work in a way where we go from answer to answer. It's not like this is what we're going to do and then this is what we're going to do. That's just not how decision-making, self-discovery, or life works. The way that I think life really works is in seasons. So sometimes you're in a burst season. I'm right now at Savannah Wellness, which is a resort in Arizona with a few really dear friends. And all of them are in different work seasons than me, except for one of them. You've got a lot of them who have written multiple books and they are on to their next career move and they have so much clarity, but maybe they're in a season in their romantic relationship where they're letting go of a marriage or whatever it is. In my case, my relationship is stable. I moved to Florida and I don't really know what I want to create next. I'm really proud that the U-Turn book, it dropped in Asia and hit the bestseller list versus in the United States. I did so many things. I went on so many podcasts to promote the book. And it's so funny for me to realize that in life sometimes, and I think I've said this before, you'll work really hard to get a result and then you'll get feedback from the universe that it was just easily going to come somewhere else or some way else. So very interesting. But I think being in this season for me of not having answers has been scary in some ways because I'm just chilling and it feels weird not to have anything that is busting out of me that I want to create or that I want to do, especially as an entrepreneur who's kind of responsible for her destiny. It's like I think for a lot of people, even in the workforce, especially a hopelessness when you don't know what you want to do next. Because it's like, a lot of us are action takers. And if we don't know where we want to put our action, it can feel like we're these workhorses with nowhere to put our energy. But I just want to reflect back to you that these eras of rest, I know we have, families to feed and mortgages to pay and rent to pay and all these responsibilities. But these moments of rest, when we take them, are so important, and how important it is not to force it and how important it is to accept when you're just in a season and this next thing you want to do and this next answer you want to have isn't coming out of you. I think in a lot of ways, these seasons are inevitable and recurring throughout our life. And we're going to have such a better quality of life if we accept these seasons and have a better relationship with them, because they are so frequent. They are so expected. And if we resist them, if we torture ourselves, if we don't allow peace with them, it becomes really challenging to enjoy life as a whole because they're so inevitable. I think Emily Fletcher came on the U-Turn podcast years ago to talk about meditation. And she talked about these three energies. And I know that you've probably heard me mention them because I thought they were so poignant. She said, creation, maintenance, and destruction. We're either in either of those eras and they're cyclical. So maybe you're in an era of creation. You're creating something and you have so much energy for it and it's giving you energy, which is so amazing. Or maybe you're in an energy of maintenance. You've created something like I have and you're just maintaining it and you're just kind of bopping along and you love what you do or maybe you like what you do. But you don't have an answer on whatever the next big thing is that you want to do next. And I used to think it was scary, the word destruction. And I don't necessarily believe that everything you create, if you're in maintenance, you're around the corner from destruction. But I do think there's some sort of like release of a past way of being. And sometimes for some people, it looks like destruction. For other people, it just looks like release of what they've been maintaining so they can go put their energy towards something else. So just a reminder that life doesn't happen answer to answer. And, when it comes to healing, when it comes to growing, when it comes to making your next decision, you're not really in a position to heal, to grow, to expand, unless you're usually finding a sense of calm. So yes, we can grow in chaos for sure. But I think the deeper healing, the deeper self-awareness, the deeper answers usually come from a calm mind. So I think the question is, how can you accept the transitional seasons that you go into? How can you understand that these are just a part of it and that life does not happen from answer to answer? And how can you give yourself grace in that? How can you create ease for those transitions and understanding that these transitions can sometimes happen over years? One thing that I've always grappled with is how much life doesn't really warn you when a chapter ends. So maybe you're coming off of a chapter of a lot of expansion and now you're in a chapter of just being with it. And sometimes it can bring up a lot of grief. Like, damn, that last chapter was so amazing. And now I'm here. Like for me, I, broke up with William, my 3-year relationship. Great guy, just not my guy. And it took years for me to really see that, which is scary as someone who's choosing a life partner to realize that it can take years to choose and makes it kind of more challenging for me to make a choice, especially since I'm such a multifaceted person. But really realizing that these chapters just end and it's okay for them to end. After breaking up with him, I moved to New York City and I love New York so much. I still have my place there. I'm renting it out. And I went to Florida for the winter to just be near my brother and my sister-in-law. And my life has been so easy in Florida, especially with Jupiter, my dog, who's, those of you who don't know, he's this 100-pound German Shepherd who's a lot of energy. And the cost of living in New York is wild, and that's just something everybody knows. For example, I was quoted by his veterinarian $5,200 for him to get fixed, for him to get a gastropexy, which is this procedure that a lot of dogs like him get. And he had a little hernia that was not a big deal, but I wanted removed. So $5,200 in New York, $1,100 in South Florida where I'm living. So just a little reminder, like the cost of living and was so different. And I started to feel like in my time in Florida over the winter, like maybe I shouldn't go back to New York. Maybe it's time for me to really get ahead in my life in so many ways. Like I want to invest in real estate a little bit more and just live a more simple and calm life. And it was so sad for me to realize like, oh shit, this chapter in New York is ending and I didn't even prepare for it. And I'm in a chapter right now of reflecting and not being clear on my next thing. People ask me all the time. Actually, this amazing waitress at the resort had read my book. She came up to me and it was so cool that she was telling me she loved it and asking me, are you going to write another book? And I just said, I don't really have much else to say right now. I'm just collecting life experiences right now, and the next thing will come out of me in time. And I'm so proud that I've created calmness with this era, although sometimes I get scared of it. So I just want to remind you how important it is to remember life is just not answer to answer, and to put that kind of pressure on your life, to put that kind of pressure on yourself, to put that kind of pressure on your creativity is so stifling. So I'm sending you a lot of love. I hope this solo was helpful for you if you needed this reminder today. And yeah, I appreciate you listening to this show so much. There's a lot of heart in it for me. It's something consistent that I've loved to do, and it means so much you're here.
Thank you so much for tuning into the U-Turn podcast. And thank you again so much for our sponsors. We are here because of you. And to our listeners, thank you for checking out our sponsors. We always pick people and brands that we trust and we believe in. And just for listening to the show, writing your reviews on the Apple app, and just being willing to make your own U-turns. We'll see you next week.